But we start with the Browns, and Danny, it's like it's become so apparent that Dillon Gabriel can't start anymore.
Yeah.
And it's hard because I was you ride it until you die. And the Browns are riding Dillon Gabriel, and they put him in opportunities. Here's the most damning thing, okay? I've seen the tweets that we all have. Last in EPA, last in quarterback rating, last in yards, last in all these things, PFF grade. There is not a good statistic to pull out with Dillon Gabriel right now and point at. And I think this is my biggest issue with Dillon Gabriel. I've not seen anything. Like, 4 starts. I accidentally said 3, and everybody jumped on it. It's been 4 starts. And I don't know if I've seen a drive. I don't know if I've seen a throw that I go, oh, we can work with that. Nothing. I've seen nothing. And people want to keep jumping on the, well, what did you expect out of an undersized third-round quarterback? I get it, but, like, nothing. Not a throw. Not a drive, not something that I would love something to just grab onto and have some hope about Dillon Gabriel as an NFL quarterback, and I sit here drawing a blank. It eventually will always turn to the Shedeur Sanders conversation, and I really think there are 2 different conversations to be had right now. Well, is Shedeur ready to go? I don't know, but you know what I do know? They can't start Dillon Gabriel anymore. They just can't. And if Dillon's not ready, then you're going to have to put Bailey Zappi in there, or you're going to have to go trade for another quarterback. They're 2 separate conversations. I'm ready for Shedeur to play, not related to Shedeur at all. I'm ready for Shedeur to play because I don't want to see Dillon Gabriel play anymore. And Shedeur is next up in line. Yeah, the offensive line is bad. Oh, Shedeur would get killed in this offense too. Okay, but I'd rather just see him out there, Danny. It's hard because, like, I wanted this to last a little longer with Dillon Gabriel. We all kind of knew where the arrow was pointing with Dillon Gabriel, but the fact that through 4 games, he won a game. I guess that's the one thing. He beat a really bad Miami.
And I do think that the first touchdown drive that they had against New England last Sunday looked good, right? Like, that was a positive moment. It's like, oh, maybe they can do something here. And it turns out they couldn't, and they got blown out because as a team overall, they stink, and Dillon Gabriel's not very good. But I do come back to the expectations, which we should not have any for him. But the thing that I keep coming back to, Matt, is in the 26 years that the Browns have been playing football since they returned to action in 99, I don't know that the quarterback situation has ever been worse than it is right now.
Yeah.
Because if you look at trading away Joe Flacco, okay, and you know how much of that is on the rest of the roster, how much of that is on Kevin Stefanski, because I do think it's clear if you listen to what Kevin Stefanski has said since that trade, that does not seem like a move he and Andrew Berry were in lockstep on, which certainly is an issue. The receivers stink. The offensive line stinks. Like Dillon Gabriel or whoever is playing quarterback for the Browns, Joe Flacco, Shedeur Sanders, Bailey Zappi, you name it, that guy is not being set up for success. And when you are at that position and you're not being set up for success, it's obviously really hard to look even competent. And I think when you add that together with the fact that I don't think right now we have seen anything from any of the guys on the roster that say you are an NFL caliber quarterback in any way, shape, or form, not starting quarterback, just NFL quarterback, that leads to having the worst offense in football. That's where the Browns are at. It's awful to watch. I mean, there are no redeeming qualities about this offense. Quinton Judkins is a good player, but this offensive line stinks. Like, that offensive line got very old very quickly. The best weapon on the perimeter is a rookie tight end. None of that adds up to, yeah, we could be good. None of that.
Ryan, you're a big Shedeur Sanders guy. Like, are you worried about setting Shedeur up for not having success because of how bad it is? And, like, do you understand what I'm talking about when I say this isn't even about Shedeur for me anymore? This is just, I'm done with Dillon Gabriel. Shedeur's next up, and I'm ready to put him in there and see what he's got.
I mean, yeah, I don't think there's going to be a world where Shedeur Sanders can go out there and ball out, but I think there's a certain gap between like a guy like him and Dillon Gabriel, whether or not Shedeur Sanders is actually that talented. Just the fact that he's not 5'4", the fact that he can move a little bit, and Dillon Gabriel, for what he is, he's not a guy that elevates people. He's a career backup likely. He needs the players around him to elevate his game rather than it being vice versa. Now, I don't know if Shedeur Sanders is going to go out there and immediately elevate the players around him because, as Danny said, the offensive line is old and slow. Nobody on the perimeter is going to beat one-on-one. You don't feel good about anybody really on the offense outside of maybe Quinshon Judkins right now. So to throw Shedeur Sanders in there and expect a different result in terms of it translating to a win, I don't think is what we're going to expect. But I think you'll see some glimpses of him being able to move around maybe a little bit better than Dillon Gabriel, just in terms of being able to see over the offensive line. And if anything, there is something, especially in the NFL, to a player like Shedeur giving the team a little bit of juice.
Yeah, I like that too.
So
Yeah.
I'm willing to see it, and you're right. It's not so much about Shedeur Sanders. It's the fact that it can't quite literally get any worse with Dillon Gabriel at the helm. Like, at least the guys like, and we go back to, you can name the laundry list of quarterbacks, like a Deshaun Kaiser, for instance. He had an arm. Like, he could actually throw the ball. Guy like Dillon Gabriel, there's not one thing that you could pick out and feel confident about in his game that's going to work out in the NFL.
I mean, that deep pass that he threw that got picked off, like when it left his hand, I'm like, oh my goodness. Dillon Gabriel's throwing the ball down the field. Because that, I feel like, is the first time that's happened in the 4 games that he played. But also, it looked like an arm punt. Like, that was an arm punt on first down.
Oh, way too much air under it. And then there's some, and I'm gonna butcher this stat, which would not be the first time here on the show, but there's something like he had 1 completion over 15 yards. He was like one of, like, basically the whole stat, I'll just sum it up this way. He cannot throw the ball down the field at all, like over more than 15 yards. Find me an NFL offense that has a quarterback that can't complete passes more than 15 yards down the field. You're going to have the offense that you're staring at. And you guys are right. Like, that, I think, is inherently the problem with Dillon Gabriel. What is the thing that you're going to lean into? I sent this tweet, and I know Andrew Berry not speaking this week is just a horrible look on the organization.
It really is.
Danny, like, unless there's a trade he's working on, unless somebody's getting fired, that's such a bad look. Because the point-blank question that we would not get the answer to, but that needs to be asked Andrew Berry is this. What did you see in Dillon Gabriel to draft him, and why have we not seen that? And what I'm talking about is there's got to be something that you just dive into and say, Dillon, this is what you do really well. It's not RPO, I know that. It's not throwing the ball down the field, I know that.
He's a supercomputer.
Okay,
that's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, it's what it's supposed to be. Then why can't we, I'm simplifying this, why can't we trick it up and say we're going to dive into you being a super processor and run a bunch of plays to help that? You get what I'm saying? Like,
you don't have the talent to do that. That's the issue.
Again,
Well,
you're right.
I don't think you have the time.
Yeah.
I don't think you have the time for him to process all that stuff. And you know, that is the one area where I do think it's unfair to speak on him, because we genuinely don't know whether or not he is the guy that they thought he was in that area, because he doesn't have time back there to actually go through reads more often than not. How frequently in the 4 games that he's played has there been a clean pocket for him? How frequently has he been able to even had time to get to his second or third read, no matter how quickly he's going through things? That's not on Dillon Gabriel. Now, I'm not sitting here saying if that were different, if Dillon had more time, he'd look like a Pro Bowl quarterback, because he would not. I think it is fair to say if any quarterback had the amount of time that he has, it'd be really, really difficult for them to look good. But I don't think that we can see Dillon Gabriel's strengths because the rest of the roster isn't very good. But if you're the Browns, this wasn't some secret coming into the season. The Browns roster was never going to be good this year. There was nothing on paper in April and May that we saw that said, yeah, the Browns could win like 9 games. You know, maybe quarterback's a question mark. Maybe Joe Flacco's it. Maybe he's not, but they're good on the offensive line, or they've got 2 or 3 really good receivers. Like, you could talk yourself in to Cincinnati right now without Joe Burrow. You know why? Because they have Jamar Chase, because they have T. Higgins, because they have Chase Brown, because they have a lot of really talented guys, and their offensive line might not be great. I think it's better than Cleveland's. It's not great, but they have such a great collection of weapons on the perimeter that they can make a Joe Flacco look good. Maybe Jake Browning is a bridge too far there, but they can still make a journeyman at this point, below average quarterback, look good.